What's good, my boy? Back in the wood shop this morning. And yesterday I finished these lovely little guitar stands here. And in the back of my head, I was like, I have these hooks that I don't really use for my guitars, for the wall. And I was like, well, I can just put them in there. And then I forgot that they were like a flat machine screw. So I had to get some threaded inserts, and they'll be in here, it said by Thursday, which is tomorrow. And I got two of them. I kind of did like mock-ups. I made one of them is kind of more angled. It's kind of hard to see, but one of them is more angled than the other one, and one's a little bit taller. I did that for experimentation purposes. Of course, I'm gonna sell them, but a lot of this shit I'm making right now is I'm just trying to like figure out in time how quick I can build things. Like one of the things I really like building that I made like almost close to 20 of them yesterday is these little wooden guitar picks. I just fucking bang these son of a bitches out easy as hell, and they're kind of customized. Some of them are different sizes than others, and I think that makes them pretty neat. I'm not sure. I think this is like a walnut wood. But since I can't really do nothing more, I got them pretty much all the way sanded on these stands. I started on a pedal board for like a guitar, and I'm pretty happy with what I ended up with. I just kind of been making it out of pine. And basically, it's just these two pieces. I'm gonna drill some holes in for the cables and whatnot. And then it has this backing board, this front board. I'll have it all even and everything like that. And then I'm gonna recess these slats into it. And now if it works out and it looks pretty good, I'll charge pretty cheap for this one because it's just pine. I mean, it's like nice finished pine that you put in like a house. But we'll just see. I'm experimenting. I gotta rip down the inside little pieces to recess them. And if it turns out pretty good, I'm gonna start using some of that good wood, that walnut, I got one maple, some birch, of those big ass long boards, really mainly for making cabinets, but they'd be perfect for this. And that hardwood would make them pretty cool. And then if I like this one today, I got a bunch of more pieces of this like mahogany flooring, and I'll just rip and mill it down and turn them into like 2 or 3 of them. So if I can get 2 or 3 of them today, sand them all, and then at least get one coat of finish on them all, that'd be pretty good, because then tomorrow, it takes about 3 days to get the finish on there all the way. For the topic of discussion for today, I guess is what you'd call it, I mainly wanted to focus a lot on gratitude and how important I believe it to be. Now, out of all of the little self-improvement type practices that you can really do, gratitude, for me at least, seems to have the most beneficial impact and realistically makes the most sense. I mean, basically what you're doing whenever it comes to gratitude is you're like taking account or inventory of things that give you purpose or blessings, if you will, if you're religious. But it truly just, it changes everything. Like for me, every single morning, whenever I wake up, I say a thanks for like all my friends by name and all my family by name. And it might sound like a little tedious and whatnot, but it truly puts it into perspective how good you have it. Because there's a lot of people out there, I would say, in this newer generation of people feeling purposeless or lost, if you will, that have perfectly good homes that they live in. There's not really any external, they're not in war, they're not any of this. A lot of people in America, they get to play video games all day, and instead of being like, you know what, I'm so grateful for this opportunity bestowed upon me and doing something about it, you start comparing yourself to other people, being like, well, this person has this and this and that. That's exactly the opposite of what I would say you want to do. A while back, I read this book, and albeit kind of a boring book, by this dude named Viktor Frankl called A Man's Search for Meaning. And it was really, like I said, kind of boring. I ain't gonna lie to you, it was like listening to some dude in school, like being in history class and then teaching you about the Holocaust or some shit. So it was kind of boring. But what the fuck? But it emphasized one major particular point. And that point was that no matter how bad it really is for you, that is your reality. And you either have you either have two options. You have the option to try to escape it through things like drugs, alcohol, coping, suicide, that of the sorts. Or you can try to play these little games and create your own meaning. Like what he would say, and it's been a while since I read it, but he would describe as like all the people who didn't last or were just completely fucking miserable, which most everybody there was miserable, but to leveling degrees, which he explained. In the internment camps, that's what his thing was, is he's a Holocaust survivor. Whether we're talking about the J question, we're gonna skip that part of the video. But he just talks about how certain people would just give up and just see all hopes lost, and they wouldn't last very long. But see, Viktor Frankl, what he did, and or at least what he says he did, was he'd create these like little mental games of like, let me see if I can do this, or let me see how I can do this. It's been a while since I read it, like I said, but if I remember correctly, he would be like talking about trying to enjoy the food, or trying to do this, or trying to like make little competitive things for himself. And it was what he accredits to surviving, being in an internment camp. And none of us nowadays, especially if you have the comfort to watch this video on your phone or your computer, are in this sort of a predicament. So it should, in theory, be 10 times easier for us to create meaning. Like for me, a year and a half ago, I had no fucking interest in being a woodworker. I had little interest in music. The only interest was like kind of making YouTube videos, and that was just like a selfish thing driven by like all these success stories like Aiden Ross and different self-improvement people, how they're making millions. But then along the way, a long way, I started to kind of just realize that my only option, if I'm not going to do something drastic, or I'm not going to have like my only option to not have like misery, is to create my own meaning and look around me at the tools at my disposal, literal fucking tools, and I just jumped on it. And that's pretty much the best thing you can do. If you have the ability to stay and live with your parents and it's not a rocky relationship, and you could get a job and save up some money, or get in the trades and save up some money, I would 100% recommend anybody do that. It will create meaning. Like, money is not the only option, is not the only thing. We've heard that repeated countless times, but it damn sure solves one piece of the pie. If you can utilize things at your advantage. Maybe you live down here in the South, and you can look around at the environment and certain things like that. Or maybe you live close to the city in Austin. Like, I used to live in Austin. I didn't take advantage of this, but like that whole comedy scene in Joe Rogan, if you want to do something creative, maybe you could go try to work your way into that scene. It's just all about looking around you, being grateful for what is around you, because that is a randomly generated thing that ultimately you're blessed with, and you just utilize that, and that's how you create purpose. Now, my video yesterday was on really just like, I kind of harped down about like taking advice and all this information and all these people telling you all these things. And like, don't let me be misunderstood there. I've learned invaluable amounts of information from books and podcasts and influencers and shit like that. I just like to kind of weed it out and take the meat and leave the bones out of it. And I believe the world would be better if a majority of people practiced that. But really, one of the most important lessons that I've learned myself through personal experience has without a doubt been this like looking at the positive side of things, and how like certain catastrophes will happen to us here in life. And this is where I start to get like a fucking cringy ass philosopher, but it's just true shit. We have like catastrophes that in the moment seem like the end of the fucking world. It's like nothing could get any worse. We start creating future scenarios about how bad it's going to be for us. But like every catastrophic thing that's happened to me within the last 3 years since 2020, 4 years since 2020, fuck the pandemic, that never really was a big thing to me at all. That was just like stupid. But like, I had things that happened outside of that, just so happened to happen during that point in time, that were like catastrophic. The first thing was whenever I was like still fat as fuck, close to 300 pounds. I got this autoimmune disorder out of nowhere. I went up to my pawpaw's house that's separate from this one, and we were working outside. I was using a chain pull to uproot 2 trees like that. It was hooked like this, and I was pulling on it. The first physical thing that I did in years, besides play fucking video games. And I woke up the next day, and I had like abscesses all on my legs, like by my groin and shit like that were literally like made me feel like a fucking alien, and it hurt like a motherfucker. I never experienced anything like that in my life. And it was just a period of like confusion and looking things up online and guessing and scared. And it turned out to be like an autoimmune disorder with like my lymph nodes and the follicles of my hair, and it flares up. But see, I was really private about that event. to only like my parents and those people knew about it. That was it. But it was something that I had to suffer through for like so long in silence. I couldn't open up about it. I just felt too much like a freak, right? And probably I'd say 6 months after that, on the day before my 18th birthday, I shot myself in the leg and had to be life-flighted. Straight Cheddar Bob shit. I ain't gonna sugarcoat it at all. And everybody, I had started to lose weight, and I was always the fat kid as a teenager. I was always very fucking overweight. I weighed like 300 pounds the last time before I started losing weight. And it was, I shot myself, and that was a very public display to all my friends and non-immediate family and shit like that. So they started saying things like, oh, that's the reason why Cameron lost his weight and shit like that. But the only reason that started me losing weight, and I never thought I would be anything more than like an Asmongold motherfucker. I thought I had no perceived notion of goals or what I wanted to do. It was like the worst question you could ask me was, what do you want to do when you, because now that you're grown up, like that type of shit, I hated it. But once I had this autoimmune disorder, it was almost like it was time for me to grow up. That's what it felt like. It was like, okay, shit, it ain't just orcs and fucking goblins and Stormwind and World of Warcraft no more. This is like some real life shit where I can't just kill the fucking, I can't kill the thoughts in my head with comfort in a video game. I'll start going to the gym, work out, do all that. 6 months later, like I said, I'd lost a good amount. I was probably from like 300 down to like 180, 190-ish. Very noticeable. Or no, it wasn't really that, because that's the reason why they said shit. It was like around my birthday. Well, no, I was probably like right in 200. Still chunky. Took my shirt off. I had the fupa, everything like that. But I shoot myself on my 18th birthday. Now that fucked me up. But I had started to learn how to maintain and live with this condition at this point. Not comfortable, not telling people about it, but live with it. And not think like, oh, what am I going to do at this point? What am I going to do now? Blah, blah, blah. But shoot myself, not so much now, but like at the time made me feel like a fucking cowboy. It's the weirdest shit. But it gave me this like, oh, dog, I've been through the fucking trenches type feeling, which I shouldn't have really had, because it, like I said, it was some fucking Cheddar Bob type shit. But that's how I felt at the time. I had this special treatment, everybody giving me attention and all this. And that really spawned me into, all right, that made me think, because I almost died. I almost fucking died. It made me think like, all right, dog, I need to start making up for all this time that I wasted as a teenager. So I get deep into the fucking red pill space. Lose my virginity, sleep with a bunch of women, yada, yada, yada. It was learning experience. But afterwards, after I started getting clear-headed, I just figured I just wasted a bunch of time with that. But see, I had these big moments over the past 3 or 4 years that happened, that in the moment were kind of like real painful, real suffering, shit like that. And then I had my car stolen right the Christmas after I shot myself. Then the February after my car was stolen, or 3 months after my car was stolen, we were evicted, had to live in the fucking trailer with all those people. All that shit happened. Then totaled the car in a car crash, almost die again. All these catastrophic things happened to me. And I'm not trying to act like a David Goggins, I stood tough through the whole motherfucking thing. I ain't trying to act like that. Because a lot of it could have probably been avoided if I was paying attention, right? But the major takeaway there is everything was a series of events that led to where I'm at now, and I'm so fucking happy and grateful, and just I wake up every day with a new creative little plan on what I'm gonna do, and I just have so much fucking fun with it, and I love every day. I love life now. And see, if I would have let that like cynical, nihilistic old me do all the thinking, none of that would have ever fucking happened. None of it would have happened. I'd still be real sad, and I'd still be thinking about all that shit. But over time, the greatest lesson that I gained was just like, Well, nothing is really permanent. And as long as you can gain the skill of getting through the whole suffering thing, you're fucking golden, my boy. Your fucking shit will work out for the most part. You just gotta stay. Something that would have probably made my process a lot faster would have 100% been like gratitude back then. That's how I'll put it. Like whenever I was like sitting in that room or sitting at that lonely house all by myself watching Destiny and streamers and Asmongold again, and I started playing World of Warcraft for like a 1 month period and video games and shit like that again, which I don't have anything against, but for me, they kind of waste my time. I would go back and have like I had discipline. Like it wasn't like I was a fucking like retard at this time. I was going to the gym. I went to the gym every single day. During this whole time of getting evicted, the first thing I did whenever I got to that trailer was took my car and go get a fucking gym membership at Metroflex. That was just like, I had certain things that were guiding me along. I feel like a lot of people are that way, where they still have some sense of like normalcy, where they're like, all right, I got to do this to get this. So it's mainly like a gratitude in things at your disposal type thing. Like if at that time I would have been like, well shit, I don't really have any bills. I have this whole fucking... Well boys, I got the storage fixed on this bitch, I think. And this is pretty much the design of the box. I don't have the slats done yet. They're still able to come out. But I'm gonna figure out the way I want to fasten them. I'm thinking about doing something cool, like maybe some plugs or dowels. That would look pretty neat. I'm waiting on the glue to dry. I got some little bit of filler in my nail holes. The way I saw these online is they get a pretty good penny for them, but they like drill screws through them and it just looks like a fucking, like a picket fence or something. And I want to kind of make them look a little bit more sleek, furniture-like. And that little end table that I made the other day, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got about 8 or 9 of these pieces of mahogany left. And I'm thinking about today I might try to recreate this, but with mahogany. And it should, I don't know if it'll rip down to the same. It's like a 1/4 inch too short. I mean, I'll just have to make this on a little bit smaller. I still think a guitar pedal would fit on it, maybe. I mean, it's gonna have this little bit of gap. It probably won't fall through if you center it. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and rip down a good amount of these, mill them down like I did before, and then I'll come back once I get that shit done. The storage on the iPhone got fucking full. But to finish what I was saying, if like I've had these little bits of reminiscences of like desire and purpose that I knew what I should be doing. I remember I bought this fucking GoPro. I was watching all these videos on how to do it. I was still going to the gym, but I couldn't, it just felt like I couldn't take action on it. And truly, you could talk about resistance, and it was resistance, and you could give it a name. But I really think the major thing, if I would have practiced back then, that would have changed it, would have been my ability to practice gratitude every day. Like if I would have every single day been like, look what's around me, look what's at my disposal, man, I'm so thankful for that shit, I don't want to squander it, it would have benefited me. Because I remember at that point in time, I felt so sorry for myself because I had all this time as a teenager that I could have used to, which was my desire at the time, make videos and do all this shit, and I wasted so much time was my thinking pattern, and like, I gotta make it up. But I was so unaware because I was so ungrateful for what I had at my disposal that I was wasting that time again. And then, see, I moved over here. And I moved over here in February of last year. And I started doing that same shit. I started wasting my time. I started not making videos. And then I went out there and I made one fucking video, and I was consistent for like a month and a half straight. And before, it was like one video every like 2 or 3 weeks, right? That was my pattern. But then I got 2 months of consistency, or about a month of consistency, and I quit because I started doing this contracting job, right? But as soon as with that it was in January, March. It was 2 months, because it was through February and March. And then in the mid-April was whenever I started doing the contracting and shit. So I stopped. I had those periods of consistency, and then I stopped whenever I got the job. And then somewhere within that month of like April or May, I was like, you know what, fuck this shit. And that was whenever I started doing 5 videos on TikTok a day video every day. Albeit I don't really like the videos I made at that time. I find them fucking cringe. They were kind of funny, if you think about it, because I was kind of putting on a character, but to me, they're cringe. But truly, it was me finally just being grateful for certain things. Like, God damn, I got all this. I got this job. I'm doing these things. And I started getting a little bit of confidence as well from acquiring skills. But that's the main thing. I think I'm going to finish up this pedal board and see what I can do. And then later on, I want to really start discussing and getting down and dirty with like parasocial relationships and streamers and that whole space, because there's a weird thing there that it's just strange, because that was the period of time whenever I was deep in that shit. One thing that I like to do whenever I build, I just milled down that mahogany. I'll probably have to mill down another one, but I like to find like old furniture, albeit some shit that you got lying around, or you can realistically, now if it's like pristine condition and it's owned by somebody that really knows what it is, you can't do this. But there's a lot of people online and even at flea markets or estate sales that'll get rid of like old hardwood furniture for literally nothing. Some of them will literally just be like, yeah, I need space, you haul it off, I'll come haul it off, you can have it, right? So that's one thing that I like doing. Like right now, I'm not really sure what type of wood it is. I know it's like some sort of old hardwood, and I took apart this shelf that was just kind of like falling apart, if you will, and instead of trying to refurbish it, I'll just break it down. It had like some quarter round on it, which I'm not really that interested in saving. But take that. Some of the nails will come out, but I can't find my good nail pullers right now, but these will do. And I just pull the nail off of the motherfucker. On the side. Now, I guess the only difference is that some of the pieces are gonna have like a lot of nails in it and shit like that. But to me, I'll just make some filler with the dust off of it, and it won't really look that tacky. And I kind of like the idea of reusing the old shit, honestly. The last thing that I'm gonna leave this video with is for the most part, it gets better, my boy. and you'll be 10 times better off with how much action or how much motivation, if you want to use that word, you'll have to get shit done. And the quicker that you can reframe your mind and see the positive things around you and see what's at your disposal, the quicker you can actually accomplish those things deep down that you feel are fucking so far out of your reach that there's no possible way they could come true. So that's the main thing. For me, I listed all them terrible fucking examples of all that bullshit where I'm not no fucking Anne Frank. I ain't been whipped like Kunta Kinte or nothing like that. Nothing crazy. I have a pretty abnormal amount of catastrophic shit that's happened to me in the past couple years. That's pretty fucked. And you probably wouldn't want to go through that. And well, you might have had some crazier shit that happened to you than that, whatever. I'm not here to measure dicks or nothing like that. For me, even though all that bullshit happened, it got better. There was periods where it seemed like it was fucking truly hell. I was losing hope and all this shit. I saw no foresight for the future. But the major thing is that eventually it got better. And that's the way I feel like for most of us. As long as we have a little bit of a guiding star of initiative or anything like that, it'll get fucking better. So be a man, suffer through your loneliness, suffer through your pain, through your conditions, through whatever the fuck you're going through. Grab that little nutsack, squeeze that motherfucker till you get to the other side. And once you get there, it's just time to grind, my boy. Trace paper, enjoy art and nature, and have a good one.